The Buschy and Bobo Show, a healthy scratch podcast. Here's your hosts, Kyle Busch and Brian Rager.
Welcome back to the Buschy and Bobo Show. It's episode 45. It's the trade deadline today.
Yeah.
We're always excited for it, but you can see Bobo's not really too jazzed up right now. Why is that? Because I'm kind of feeling the same way. This happens every year.
I'm not jazzed up. I'm not feeling it because every fucking year, GMs do these big trades before the deadline,
Way before the deadline.
which means that on this day, which we take off from work, which is money going into our families' pockets, it's there's nothing. It's peanuts.
Well, there's still players out there, right? There's still players that we are going to go through. You know, we did our preview episode where we went through our list and how we made it and where we think people are going to go, where people are going to get traded to. But there were a bunch of trades done on Wednesday and Thursday. And every time I texted you, you were just like, what? This is bullshit. So
Yeah.
what we're going to do, it's like 9 in the morning on Friday during the trade deadline. We're rocking something in here.
A little something.
Whew. It's not just coffee, everybody. Okay, so bear with us. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through. We're going to start with one that technically wasn't even really like at the deadline, but I counted as a trade deadline acquisition. So Chris Tanev going to the Dallas Stars, and the Calgary Flames traded him for a prospect, a second-round pick, and a conditional third. That was actually something that I think kind of set the tone for the deadline a little bit, where like a second and a third for kind of a second pair defenseman. You know, you think that that's a pretty good deal. I'm not, and we're not going to be, really into like which prospect is good or not, because I don't know who Artem Grushnikov is. So, I mean, I'm assuming, is he a throw-in? Is he good? That's something that me and Bobo just aren't going to know. So it's hard to really grade a trade. What we can do is go, hey, Tanev is going to be a really good fit for the Dallas Stars, 100%, because that's what they need. And that's something that I think if we would have had Tanev on our list, we would have maybe had him going to Dallas just because they are pretty deep and they have a lot. So Chris Tanev for a second and a third and a prospect. And there was also a 50% retain. And then the Devils actually got a fourth-round pick to retain further. So the Stars, with their cap space situation there, where are they sitting? Pretty low, 3 million, something like that. So I guess they were like, you know what, let's try and maybe they're going to make another move. Who knows, right? So Chris Tanev to the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, Chris Tanev to the Stars. That's a great fit for him. He said Dallas is already solid back there, so just adds another piece. I'm going to skip the next trade because who gives a fuck about Alex Nylander?
We're going up, buddy.
Oh, we're going up.
Yep.
It shows how much I looked at this beforehand.
Well,
I
helped you. Try
Buschy, for to Toronto for a third-round pick. Toronto gets another defense. Toronto gets some D there. That's where they're probably lacking most likely. So, just get a guy there, and the Ducks are retaining half of the salary.
Well, I mean, it's something where like he's been with Toronto before, right? Like, I don't even, was it last year, the year before? Buschy has already been there, and I mean, I've been shying away from the advanced stats because there's just, I don't know, people get a little bit too locked into like, oh, this guy's good or this guy's shit. His advanced stats aren't that good, but you got to look for somebody, and they obviously they got another defenseman we'll mention in a little bit, but third round pick return for the Ducks, I'll take it. I mean, that looks like a pretty decent trade to me. The next one we're going to talk about is another guy that got traded at the deadline a couple of years ago, and I got really excited about it. It's Anthony Mantha. Remember when that happened, right? You were sitting probably right where you are right now.
Yeah, I would probably be in the same spot, and
we were still battling audio issues and lighting issues.
And this was right after 3 o'clock.
It was right after the deadline. Well, this one happened 2 days before the deadline. So Anthony Mantha got traded to the Golden Knights for a second-round pick and a fourth-round pick. So like pretty good return for the Capitals. You figure like what they traded to get for him, it was Vrana first-round pick basically, right? So they recouped a little bit, right? And Mantha's a 20-goal scorer this year. which funny enough, he was scratched at the beginning of the year, but that's the Anthony Mantha that Red Wings fans know is just like super inconsistent. Technically, he's a big body, but it's just like, you know what, he doesn't use it, and there's not that much fire. So maybe on Vegas, he'll fit in. I hate the Vegas Golden Knights. That's something that I can't stand this LTIR thing. I think it's stupid that they have all this space. They just need to close this loophole. If you want to put a guy, injuries happen. I'm not saying Mark Stone is faking it, but if he's hurt and he's on long-term injured reserve, it should only open up a roster spot. It shouldn't.
Yeah,
It
the
shouldn't
whole
be some
cap it shouldn't be able to
exactly.
finagle the system.
And that's what's happening. And I know Kucherov, with Tampa Bay, like, and it goes to show, like, hey, would they rather have Mark Stone in the lineup? Yeah, but this is something where they can take advantage of some stupid rule where, like, oh, just because my guy's hurt, now I can go out and get $10 million more in players, and then have like no cap hit in the playoffs when Stone comes back. It just, there should be a salary cap in the playoffs. What's the point of the cap if you can circumvent it? Even though it's legal and they are taking advantage of it, and there's nothing against the rules. I'm not saying that they're
Oh,
like
but the
scumbags or
rules,
something, but it's like this shouldn't happen every year.
yeah, it's something that you're seeing it the last couple of years. There, now Vegas is doing it. Tampa did it.
Yeah.
There's,
So getting back to the Mantha trade, like, do you think that that's a good return for Washington, a second, a fourth?
I think so, considering, like you said, he's a body that he doesn't necessarily have to use. You'll put in the 20 points or the 20 goals, but you're getting back a second round. I think the second round is more valuable than obviously than the fourth, but you're getting something a decent return back there, even though you are retaining half the salary.
Well, I think that's something that's going to happen, right? Like, where they're going to retain just to get it done. I mean, Washington, you have 3 retained slots, so it's like you might as well use it to get the trade done. If we look at our trade deadline list here, we did have Anthony Mantha at number 19, and we did have him going to the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, obviously, a
Put
couple other teams in there,
you
but bam, so nailed it. We're going to keep track of how many we get. So
credible
Anthony
source.
Mantha, Vegas Golden Knight. So um, Bobo, you can do the next one because that's something that we can even. I'm going to keep it on this screen, and
Yeah,
we'll talk about why.
you might as well. And that's the Ottawa Senators making sweet moves here, getting a conditional fourth round pick and a third round pick for flipping Vladimir Tarasenko to the Panthers.
Okay, and that's something where I was like, okay, that is a terrible trade. Right away, I was like, that's not going to work. But um, Tarasenko, I'm looking at my list right now. We had him at 6, had him going to either Vegas, the Rangers, or the Panthers, and he ended up with the Panthers. So, bam,
Pumpkin.
nailed it. Woo woo!
The train's going.
Yeah, if you guys get the reference, go watch episode 44. You'll understand. So, yeah, Tarasenko, let's break it down. What do you think happens here? Because what did you think about that return rate when you heard it?
The return is, I think, booty cheeks, to be honest. Um, but I'm bringing up daily face off right now to see like the line combinations now. What Florida's looking like.
Well, Florida looks insane now. Like, they put
Like
him over the top.
they already looked good to begin with, but now you're having a Tarasenko that like playing with guys that can hopefully bring him back to the Tarasenko we know from St. Louis. And
I don't think he's going to be that, but I'm just saying the return. Like, I'm not talking about Florida. Florida got a guy that's going to work for them. So, like, when I heard about the return, like, what did you think when you heard what Ottawa got for Tarasenko?
that Ottawa doesn't know what they're doing. That they're just complete shit show.
Yeah, and I thought that immediately. Now, looking further into it, apparently, and this is just what Tarasenko has said, Florida was the only place he wanted to go.
Okay.
That just absolutely nerfs his trade value, right? So going
Yeah.
to Ottawa did good with what they did, but here's the thing: they put themselves in this position. They signed him to a no trade clause, where it's like maybe that's the way they thought they could get him to Ottawa, huh? But then you hamstring yourself in a position like this, where it's like, well, I only want to go to one team. And it's like, if that team knows that, well, they're not going
Then
to
they're going to offer you.
say, well, we're going to give you third in like a condition. So I think Florida wins that trade big time. Yeah, I mean, Ottawa got something for him, but with some of the trades we're going to talk about, you're going to see that this return is very, very low. But we did have Tarasenko going to Florida, so
So
we got
woo
that one
woo.
too. Woo woo, we got her done. The next one was actually a pretty big trade, and this brought me back to 2010 because it's Ken Holland trading a first-round pick for a rental, and it's Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick going to the Edmonton Oilers for a first-round pick, a conditional fifth, and then a seventh going back to Edmonton as well. There is a 50% retain by Anaheim, and then Tampa Bay jumped in, got a fourth rounder to retain um, another 25%. So the Oilers fit it in. They give up their first. It will be a low first. It'll be 27 to 32, something like that. So they're in their window. Like this is something like they have to do something, right? And
Yeah.
Henrique is someone he hasn't played in the playoffs since he was a rookie with the Devils when they went to the final, which is shocking. Like he's 33 years old or 34, something like that. And he is a good player. He's having a really good year this year. We didn't have him going to Edmonton though. We had him Vegas, Carolina, Boston, but Edmonton, yeah, does it make sense for sure? And that's where I think when we're looking at some of the cap hits, it doesn't even matter because you're going to go in and get a double retain, and then all of a sudden here's Adam Henrique. So Carrick got in a fight yesterday against what was his name, Olivier. So on the Blue Jackets, so that was a good tilt. But Henrique should be somebody that helps them down the middle for sure. Gives them a little bit of a veteran presence, and he's still a good player. He's played in big games in his junior career for sure. We saw that with
Yeah.
Windsor. So yeah, had Henrique going to the Edmonton Oilers, and I don't think the Oilers are done. We'll see what else they can do. So, and then even the Ducks, they still have Frank Vetrano that they can move. Is Trevor Zegras, is he going to get traded? Probably not. I mean, that'd probably be like a draft day trade, but Vetrano is the other one that's unrestricted. So, yeah. So Anaheim making moves, Edmonton picking guys up.
Edmonton making moves or picking guys up, eh? Well,
Hmm.
the next one we have here is Colorado acquiring Sean Walker from the Philadelphia Flyers, and sorry, CN Walker, if
Scene.
seen Walker, as well as a fifth round pick, and they gave up the corpse of Ryan Johansson, who got waived, and a conditional first round pick.
Well, the Ryan Johansson thing, the rumor is that he wasn't gelling with that room in Colorado like at all. So they're like, let's get rid of this guy. And ironically, he gets fired back to Tortorella, and then they waive him. He clears. He's in Lehigh Valley now. Like he's in the AHL, which is nuts because he's making, I think it's 8 million. But there was a retain by Nashville originally, so they have $4 million of his salary, like no matter what. And but Sean Walker is the big piece here, funny
Yeah,
enough, and like
Sean
he's a
Walker.
solid
We had him
second pair
what?
defenseman.
We had him up there.
Yeah, we had him at number 8. You had him at 7. I had him at 9.
Yeah, we had him
We
at
had him.
Tampa, Toronto, and LA.
Yeah,
But
he's got 22 points, and I mean he's not making really anything right now. So like that's I think a really good pickup, for the Avalanche. I mean, and they've made a few other moves too, and we can kind of we'll break down what Colorado has done and what they may do. But yeah, Sean Walker to the Avalanche, and like he might even just be like a third pair guy at that point.
yeah,
Like, but they're looking for these playoff type guys, so I think Sean Walker is one of those. But then they turned around right away. It was like a half an hour later. It was a 1-for-1 trade where like these guys weren't even on our board. Like this
yeah,
was Bowen Byram for Casey Middlestat, 1-for-1 straight up a hockey trade. Like you don't really see these that much anymore, and they're two young guys. And I mean, Bowen Byram was a fourth overall pick. Casey Middlestat, I think, was like eighth overall because he was right before Michael Rasmussen. I remember that. Did you know that Casey Middlestat was leading Buffalo in points this year?
I did not.
Yeah. So move him. Bowen Byram has been having like, I don't know if you say issues, but like injury concerns, I guess. And, with the depth that Colorado has on defense and then picking up Sean Walker, it's like, okay, we can move him and get some center help, which is probably what, Colorado was really looking to do. So I think it's a good trade both ways. I mean, Buffalo is now kind of loaded up on the left side with like, I think that's Owen Power, Rasmus Dahlin, and Bowen Byram. They're all young guys. I mean, the right side is a little bit different, but they're trying to build their core in Buffalo, right? So it's like you're getting a young guy. I mean, Middlestat maybe. I don't know if he showed an inkling to like maybe leaving. Like I think he's still restricted. So who knows? It's just one of those things where I think both teams looked at it and went, "Hey, I need this specifically. You need that specifically. Their ages are the same. They're both
Let's make it work.
star type players. Let's just get it done." So I liked that trade and I think it was because Sean Walker went to Colorado, and it just allowed the Avalanche to like, okay, we can move, we can do this now.
Yeah. It's it's a like you said. It's when's the last time you saw an actual one for one hockey trade, right?
It's rare nowadays because of all these retentions and prospects and picks that you got to throw in. But yeah, 1-for-1s are fun.
One for ones are fun. That's the key to the trades, folks. The next trade we had here was the Rangers acquiring Alex Wenberg from the Kraken for a second and a fourth round pick, and that fourth round pick belongs to Dallas, and the Kraken are retaining 50% of Wenberg's salary. So the Rangers getting another center there to beef up their lines, and
I think if we look at our extra list here, we did not have Wenberg on our top 25, which I think afterwards we were chatting and I was like, well, maybe we should have because he's a centerman. You know, he has 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. So he's doing pretty decent with Seattle, and he was one of the original members of the Kraken too. But and I mean that's something where like you're always going to want that center depth, and the Rangers. I mean they're already deep up front. Like their wingers are great, their center. So this is one of those like, hey, he's probably going to play like third line minutes. You don't need him to be a top six, but that's what they're going for. Getting a second, a fourth for him, like you think about it, you know, Tarasenko got less than this. You know what I mean? And
that's where it
that's
comes back to the is Ottawa's how was the return there on
right, but it
Ottawa?
just goes to show you how this no trade clause really screwed Ottawa, right?
Yeah,
Like they did not get the proper value for what the player actually is. They got only what they could, right? And it was kind of the same idea when they traded to Brinket. It's like, well, he really only wants to go certain places, so you can only trade him there. Therefore, your market is very very small, right? And in this case, it was Florida. That's the only team that Tarasenko wanted to go to, but now a guy like Wenberg gets more than him, and even like Sean Walker, defenseman, first round pick, right? So you see the value. You know, some of these trades as they go, the market changes, right? That's one of the things that's pretty interesting. So we didn't have Wenberg on that list, but hey, the Rangers, that's a decent pickup. Going back to a team that I just despise because they just can fucking go out and get everybody. But the Golden Knights went out and they picked up Noah Hannafin. And we did not have him going to Vegas because I think I just didn't want to believe that they would go after him. We had Gensel maybe going there, but why not? Hannafin for Danny Miromanov, who I guess just they signed him, and then first round pick and a third round pick. There's conditions on it. Philly received a fifth round pick from Vegas, probably for just a double retention, right? So now Vegas hasn't signed Hannafin to an extension. I'm sure they're going to try to, but technically right now he's a rental. So I mean, and that was something where like even looking at that price, I thought it's not bad. Like, what did you
no,
think when you heard that? You know, the return for our number one on the board was just
yeah.
literally a prospect, a first and a third, and it's all conditional.
It's I thought he was going to get a little bit more, to be honest with you. Like we had him number one. Is that just us? Was that just me thinking that it's valuing him too high?
I don't think we're
Maybe,
valuing him too
but
high. I think it was just something where like this is what the market is
and he is like you said, he is a rental still, right? Like it's
technically.
is it something you're gonna try to sign long term or try to get another contract? Probably,
Yeah.
but
Well,
it's
they have so much depth now. I mean, obviously we talked about the LTIR
what's he
thing, but like
yeah.
Martinez is out there. I mean, like their scratches are going to be good players. Like if they're healthy, there's going to be like 3 or 4 guys that you're like they'd be in a lineup on like a lot of other teams, right? So I mean, hey, I mean the luxury of having guys that are dead and on your LTIR. So yeah.
That's what luxury of having him dead. I like it.
hmm
I like.
But what do the Leafs do? They got another defenseman.
Yeah, they did. They got Joel Edmondson there from Washington for a third and a fifth.
And if we look at our chart, look where we have Edmondson going. We have him going to Toronto, so we got another one there. Woo!
Woo!
So, yeah. Why does this thing keep falling down? That's what I want to ask.
I don't know.
Okay, here we go. little technical difficulty real quick there, but yeah, Toronto picks up Edmondson.
Another
Um,
defenseman to pick up. Another just trying to bolster that blue line, right?
well, you got Lubushkin, now you got Edmondson. Edmondson is more of a like beefier guy. And that's the thing is like Toronto's just looking for like we want big guys. It's like okay, we get it. That's gonna help us in the playoffs. He didn't play last night against the Bruins, but this is something with Toronto that always makes me laugh. It's like, okay, uh, we're gonna go out and we're gonna get tougher, right? Well,
Yeah,
yesterday they go out and they play the Boston Bruins and they get smacked. It was like 4-1 or whatever.
4-1.
Boston's won so many of these matchups, and it was physical though. There was fights and brawls and all this stuff. And all I had to hear from Toronto media was, "This is like something that's really, really good. I really like to see the pushback." It's like, guys, they got fucking mauled. Like, this is going to help them in the playoffs. Like, they scored 1 goal. You know what I mean? Like, are
Scoring
you
one
guys
goal will not
serious right
help you
now?
in the playoffs.
Like, okay, cool, you're tougher, but is it really? I mean, you're just fighting. Like that's all it is. Anybody can do that. It doesn't mean that you're tough to play against, right? Like
Yeah.
they still beat you. So I don't know. It's like we will take this moral victory. It's like,
Is it really a moral
really?
victory, or is it
You're like
just
6 years into your window, nothing's happened. Like this is what you're hanging your hat on. Like I'd be pissed that they lost because they're gonna probably play in the first round.
yeah? And
No one's catching Toronto for the third spot, right?
it's going to
I
be
think
that
Florida's going to be one for sure now so it's going to be Boston and Toronto, which I can't wait for because I think Boston would smack them around again. This is
Boston
what they had.
always Boston always seems to turn into that new level or dial into their zone in the
You know what I
playoffs,
realized?
right?
Boston hasn't done anything yet. What are they going to do today?
They're going to do something. They
They
got to do
should.
something.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I guess the return third and a fifth for Edmondson. That's fair, I guess. I mean, that's kind of again we're gonna compare. That's what Tarasenko basically got. So
Yeah,
hilarious. Couple minor trades. We'll just blow through real quick here. Anthony Beauvillier went to the Predators from the Blackhawks. We had Beauvillier on our list like pretty low, but I don't think we had him going to the Predators. Like that wasn't really even like for a fifth rounder. I don't even think I can really break that down. It's like, all right,
no.
cool. You went and got him. Fine. He's got 2 goals, And then the next one was Brandon Duhaime to Colorado for a third rounder. I don't know too much about him, so I can't really break it down. That third round value tells me he's probably like a third line guy. Colorado making a bunch of moves, beefing up. And then like another really small one, I guess, Troy Stetcher to the Oilers for like
Huge signing
a
or
fourth.
huge trade.
So, I mean, there goes Kenny Holland getting his depth pieces. so, um, and then I guess this is another like Colorado's all over the place. Yakov Trenin is a big body. This guy's a freight train. So, and again, a lot of depth there. They moved out a third round pick for him. The funniest thing is this Jeremy Hansel guy like just signed his entry level deal and immediately got traded.
And he's done.
hey,
Welcome,
hey,
welcome to the show. You're gone.
hey, welcome. Get out. You're going to Nashville. So, and then I mean, this Leafs trade is just for a prospect. So you want to take the next one here, Anthony Duclair.
Yeah, Anthony Duclair. We had him on our sheet there in our top 25. Goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning for
Yeah,
him in the seventh for defenseman Jack Thompson and a third round pick.
yeah, we had him at 13, and he got held out yesterday. Tons of players got held out for trade reasons. We did not have him going to Tampa Bay, but when you look at it, it does make sense because like Tampa, we always say they're very top heavy right now, and they haven't really found the third and fourth line guys like they had. I mean, Duclair can be that type of guy because he can play power play. He is a scorer, so like he's pretty like 13 goals this year on a bad Sharks team. Take that, but he's not going to be a defensive guy. So, you know, maybe you're going to surround him with guys like Luke Glendening.
Yay!
um, I think that's fair value for him. What do you think so?
Yeah, I think that's what he's around. I know last couple of years or a couple of years ago, right? There was like, oh, he's worth so much more, and then he made that signing in what he signed in Florida there, or
Yeah, yeah, he was with
he
Florida,
was supposed to
Ottawa.
Ottawa's going to
He's
offer
been
something big, but
he's been with a bunch of teams,
he's
and
just
I
getting
can't name them all, but
passed around a bit now, and
a little bit.
just another stop for him.
Yeah, and then late last night, well, not even really late last night. It officially happened late
Yeah,
last night, even into the morning. But um, another one that kind of pissed us off because it's like, oh, hey, our number two is off the board. Jake Gensel gets traded to Carolina, who we did not have, Gensel going there because I thought maybe Carolina had just maybe different needs or they
but
wouldn't go after someone big like that, but they did. And Jake Gensel is going to be a good fit for them. And I mean, when he gets back from injury, but what they got was it was Jake Gensel and Ty Smith, who's a defenseman, for Michael Bunting. So the average
rookie of the
age
year.
of yeah, he's a rookie this year, and the average age of the Penguins just went up by like 30. Vili Koivunen, Vasily Ponomarev, Cruz Lucius, a conditional first and a conditional fifth. Now, to break this one down, what I'll say is I think the Penguins got a little bit screwed here. Now, again, we don't really know a lot of the prospects from what I was looking at, like the hockey news, and they were talking about their rankings. Like those three players are not top prospects for the Penguins. They're just not.
Oof.
So like they didn't even get some of their bigger name prospects at all. So like good for Carolina. One of the names that was thrown out there was like Scott Morrow or something like that. The conditional first might actually be a second. I forget what the condition is on it. And then the fifth round they might not even get. There's a specific condition where like if it doesn't happen they don't get it, which it's a fifth. Who cares? And then like Michael Bunting, like that's such a dubious move. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I gotta go get Michael Bunting. It's like, okay, I get you gave him his chance, and it's like he just hasn't worked out in Carolina. But
No.
Jake Gensel is a point per game player. He was Crosby's guy. He might have been, I mean, arguably he was the best winger that Crosby's played with, like for an extended period of time. So, I mean, the rich get richer, Carolina going for it. What do you think of that trade? Do you like that situation? Like we didn't foresee Carolina, but now that it is, what do you think?
It hurts a bit because I know Vancouver was in on him,
They were, yeah, and the
and
Rangers were apparently at the end of the time, but
even late last night, like when you first texted me that, like around 7ish or whatever, saying Gensel to the Canes, I'm looking and I'm like seeing nothing official, but it's all heavy rumors. And then I'm looking up later during the night and seeing, oh, Vancouver's still in on him. I'm like, okay, still we have a chance, but it's it is a good fit there. Like you said, the rich are just getting richer. He's just a solid winger there. That's only going to put up more points there and help to make that deep run.
yeah, and like I was kind of wondering, because our teams, right? I mean, I know I stuck you in front of a Zetterberg jersey there, but like what are the Canucks going to do? What are the Wings going to do? Like there are still teams out there. We talked about Boston. Like there's other teams that haven't made a move yet, if they will, right? So
Yeah,
we thought Boston maybe some center depth or there are teams apparently out there, in the goalie market. That's something that I was seeing on Twitter that there was like 4 or 5 teams that were in the goalie market. So that's all the trades that have happened so far. Me and Bobo are going to be watching TSN. If anything happens, we will hop in here. Obviously, this podcast is going to come out like after the deadline's done, but we are doing this live. All the ones we just did were ones that happened a day and two ago. Little recap there, but if there are any trades, we're going to break them down kind of like as they happen. Any Red Wings type stuff is going to be on the Healthy to Scratch Red Wings report. So that's something
exactly.
we'll do that if the Wings do anything. But yeah, I'm one thing we can do is kind of look through our trade deadline list and go, well, who's left? Who can we look at and go, oh, UC Saros would be our number one
Yeah,
right now. Do you think he's going to get moved?
not with the way Nashville's been playing.
Yeah, exactly. So like the way they've been, I don't think he's gonna move.
So
And
then
then our
Jacob
next highest would be
Chikrin.
Scott Lott. Oh, Chikrin. And that's another one where like they don't have to do anything right now. They could wait till the draft. They don't have to. If they don't get the price they want, they can just say no because he's got another year left. Scott Lawton, same idea, right? If the market isn't where they want it to be, they don't have to. So I think like one of the biggest fish, and he's not on our list, is Tyler Toffoli. He's probably should be our number one.
Yeah,
Because like I think when we made the list, the Devils are now just an absolute free fall, and they held Toffoli out yesterday and still beat the freaking Blues, who are a bunch of frauds. But speaking of them, Buchnevich as well. Like Toffoli, Buchnevich, Vetrano, those are the three maybe bigger names. Riley Smith we have up there. Eberle, like there's been rumors about what the Oilers maybe going after him,
Bring
although
him
he's
back.
looking at signing an extension with Seattle. Jake Allen is like one of the other goalies we have, with Fleury. Uh, there are some other
John
smaller goalies you
Gibson.
can look at too. Dumba got held out for trade-related reasons. David Savard, like, will the Habs get what they want for him, or lose him for nothing? Pat Maroon, like, we haven't really heard a lot about him, right? Kubalik. We've got all these guys on our list. Jack Roslovic was one I was kind of like, oh, maybe Detroit can look at him. So they've got all these ones, and then even with the smaller names we're looking at here, Hoffman, Pearson, Gergensons, Pacioretty might be up there. Like with the Capitals, will they move him? Are they going to bring him back? He's always been hurt. Tyler Johnson, Wenberg's gone. Barabanov got held out, even though he's no good. So weird. He's like, I want to go to contender. It's like, buddy, you got 10 points. Bogosian signs an extension. So did Sundqvist. Some of the goalies, like, Mrazek with a couple years left. Capo Kakinen, on San Jose. Like, there are a lot of names that are still out there. A few big ones, right? With
Yeah.
Toffoli and so we'll see what happens. That's what we're at right now. We're at 10 a.m. if we're talking live, so nothing's happened. Bobo's got TSN right next to him, so I
Yeah.
don't think really
Yeah,
anything's
I've just
happened there.
been
So
spooking over there every now and then, and there's just been nothing.
yeah, it's funny because I'll just refresh Twitter and be like, all right, what do we got going on? We got some rumors or what's going on? But I don't think
Crickets right now.
Parker Wotherspoon has agreed to an extension with the Bruins. That
There you
happened.
go. That's a big deal. That's big news.
Frank Serendipity just said New Jersey, Toffoli is number one target. They're also listening on Colin Miller and Brandon Smith. Will the Sens make a splash with Chychrun? Seattle will extend or trade Eberle. Thanks. Let's see. Florida also trying to add maybe Pacioretty. Can the Flyers flip Ryan Johansson and retain? Goalie market is thin. Wouldn't be shocked to see the Devils make a play for the future. And then Pat Maroon, will he have a chance to chase fourth cup? So that's some interesting stuff from Frank Sarah Spaghetti.
Sir Spaghetti. Do you think the Wings are going to do anything today?
It's hard to say. Like I've done a few quick episodes on the Red Wings report about what I think might happen, and it just with some of the prices, I thought some of these prices seem okay to me. I think doing nothing is okay. I mean, it's a must win for them tonight against the Coyotes. I mean, they have some easy games. I mean, they play the Coyotes, then the Knights, then they play the Coyotes again. They play Buffalo twice and Pittsburgh. Like those are games that you should win. I know Larkin's out right now, but the number one thing, is at the beginning of the year, Yzerman said, well, I'm not it's not playoffs or bust, but this isn't the beginning of the year anymore. We are where we are. And
Yeah.
that's what I've said is realistically, this is reality right now. They're in a playoff spot and you can't just sit on your hands. Like if you can improve your team, you need to improve your team. And if the price is right, the price is right. And I think every team is doing that. But in the Wings situation, we've seen the game against the Panthers, the game against the Avalanche. They're clearly those are cup contenders and they beat the wheels off you, right? I still think Detroit's a playoff team. Will they win a round? Probably not. But I mean, it's a big step to get in, right? That's what you
Yeah.
want. And the
True.
fact that you're in the position right now, I think not making the playoffs would be not a disaster, but definitely a failure and a disappointment. So it's on the players, but at the same time, I think it's on Yzerman a little too to go, let me help these guys out. Like they've got me here, right? What can I do to help them a little bit more? And I'm not asking them to go out and get Gensel or Hannafin or these guys or Toffoli. That's probably not going to happen. But can you go out and get a guy like Jack Roslovic? Can you go out and get? Can you move a guy like Justin Hall? That's something where their additions might be by subtraction. Can you move the
Yeah.
Justin Hall contract? Can you open up that left side of the defense to get Simon Edvinsson up here? Because he's ready. I'm.
Yeah. I've
He's
heard you
crushing it.
say that a couple times now.
Does Jonathan Berggren, do they dangle him as trade bait? They don't have to. He's in the minors and he is a restricted free agent, so they don't have to do anything. No matter if he's not happy about it or not, they retain his rights and he can't go anywhere. So, but those are some of the guys they have. Guys like William Wallander, Albert Johansson, a couple defensive prospects in Grand Rapids that they could dangle as some trade bait. But I don't know if they want to go after like rentals because, like we've said, like they were in on maybe like Frank Vetrano. I don't know. Do you
That's not
remember
a
last
rental.
year who they were rumored to be looking at the end of the deadline? Do you remember that?
Last year, who were they looking at?
It was so random. JVR. Do you remember that?
No.
There was a quick rumor about like, oh, they were in on James Van Riemsdyk, and I remember being like, whoa, what?
Why?
Like, why? Exactly. I was like, I don't get it. So honestly, like Iserman is an enigma. All the like leak stuff that you hear is all BS because like he doesn't leak anything. Like you
Yeah.
you never know what he's gonna do. And like think about it, that Mantha trade a couple years ago. No,
That
there's
came out of nowhere.
zero indication that was
Came
gonna
out of
happen. You
nowhere.
know, so some of the returns. I mean, there were some obvious ones last year. They were selling, and it was like, yeah, Bertuzzi, Hronek, see ya.
Yeah.
Get what we can. But it's not like they have this plethora of draft picks anymore. They have one pick in every round. So they have 1 through 7. They don't have like extra picks like that anymore. Tons of prospects, right? So their prospect pool's ranked pretty high. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like some of the names on that list. I don't know if I'd be like jacked for them to like go out and get like, you know, Frank Vetrano. Like, okay, sure, yeah, it's going to help them out. But, is this a move for the future? Like, what are we doing here? So it'll be interesting. If they do nothing, I'll still understand it. I don't think I'll be like super happy about it. I think that there should be some moves, but that's where I'm at with the Wings. I'm just waiting. Like I don't have any expectations really. So
If
what about the
something
Canucks?
happens,
What do you think with the Canucks here? You looking at anybody that you're
I
kind of chomping at the bit here?
honestly I don't think we're making any moves. The only move that we're making today by 3 o'clock is signing Phil.
Yeah, Phil.
Phil, and then he'll just slot in there on that third line. Like I don't know if I'd want him slotting in on that third line right now because Connor Garland got another goal last night in the
Phil's
win.
a Canucks fan.
Yeah, Phil's a Jets fan. It's hopefully coming in. It's a guy that's a multi-cup champ and brings that into the locker room going in for a run. But as for any trades today, I don't think we do anything to shake up this chemistry that's been going on.
Did you hear the rumor about Gensel? Like when they were in on him
Yeah, like for
about
Lindholm.
Lindholm?
Yeah,
What the hell? Like, that's kind of nuts, is it not? Like, oh, we just got this guy, and then we're gonna flip
and then
him
we're
for
gonna
like
flip
less
him.
than. I mean, all right. I mean, that was kind of wild, but maybe him going to Carolina like stopped them from doing something insane. Um, but like, would you see maybe like Tyler Toffoli?
I would
Like,
like to see Toffoli come back. I think he played well in Vancouver, which got him that contract for
wait a
Montreal,
minute, he
right?
was in Vancouver.
Yeah, right before he signed
Was
in
he really?
Montreal.
No way. I totally forgot about that. I
Yeah,
forgot he was even in Montreal, man. He's been flopping. He's been going everywhere.
and they got traded to the Devils, so
Yeah.
it would be nice to see him come back, sort of just boost that second line there,
hmm
uh, and then
I mean, you're
trying
kind
to
of
see if there's
set everywhere else, right? I mean, you got your
yeah,
defensemen, you got your goalies. I think
it
you're looking pretty good. Well, who's their backup? It's the Smith, right?
Casey DeSmith,
Yeah. So
and I don't think you're bringing a guy like Fleury in just to be a backup or anything like
no,
that.
I think a team, yeah, like, and I think Carolina. I don't even know if they're going to be going for a goalie because I guess Freddie Anderson's been skating. So I
So
mean,
who
the goalie
knows?
market's going to be backups. I guess we'll see, but it's going to be interesting to see. So we're going to hop off here. We're going to be right back on with whatever trade happens first. Any type of big move will be in. We'll break it down. So I mean, until there's a move, let's just sit tight. All right, Bobo, we got our first trade of the day, and it actually happened like relatively early, like 10:30, 10:40, something like that. So I mean, usually we got to wait till 12:30. Let us know what just happened.
Yeah, usually we're just twiddling our fingers and spinning our dicks. But uh, Evgeny Kuznetsov from the Washington Capitals has been traded to the Carolina Hurricanes for a third-round pick in 2025. Kuznetsov has one more year left on his contract after this year, making 7.8, but I think they were retaining
50%
So that'll be what
both years.
would be there, and he had a modified no trade clause as well.
Yeah, well, Kuznetsov was someone that like just last week he got waived. Nobody
Yeah,
claimed him.
no one
Went down
claimed
to
him. Went
Hershey.
down.
So and he's not having a good year. I mean, he's got like 6 goals,
He's a minus
um,
11.
-11, and like looking, and again, I'd say advanced stats, but this one's pretty interesting. But like from J Fresh, I mean, he's a 1% WAR, 1% offense, 1% defense. The only thing he's good at, weirdly, is his penalty killing. Figure that out. So like I guess he's had like some of the worst metrics in the league, but I mean, this is something where like it's something that he needs, right? Change of scenery. Obviously, he won the cup there, and he was a big part of that. And like Carolina, obviously, is going for it now. I think this is something where like they might be done now because that's 3.9 million. Like with the retain, I think that's probably all they got. They got picked up Gensel. Now they picked up Kuznetsov.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're going to be able to really do anything else. So I think they're probably looking at Freddie Anderson coming back and being the guy in the playoffs and just having Kochetkov as their backup. So, but they did clear a lot of space. I kind of saw something coming yesterday because they waived like D'Angelo, Ranta, like a few guys that had some cap hits. Um, but what do you think about the return for Washington here?
you know what? You're getting something for a guy that, like I said, he went unclaimed when you waived him, and the fact that you're getting something for a guy that maybe it just didn't work out anymore, it's fizzled out.
Mhm.
You can't complain about it getting a return. You'd
Of
rather get
course,
something than nothing.
it feels like unfortunate end. He was in the player assistance program. I'm thinking it was the booger sugar, but like it's something where like he was so good with Washington and he just like went down the wrong path. And I don't know, I saw some stuff of him in Hershey and he looked happy. He looked like he was, having a good time there. And like that's kind of what you would want to see. And now Carolina, he's gonna play. Like he's not gonna be in the
Yeah,
minors. He's gonna play and he'll be on probably start on the probably third line, something like that, just to ease him into it. Because he hasn't played it was like how long was he in that program? A month or two, something like that. So ease him back in. Obviously, now they have two guys like with Gensel and with him that they're going to have to ease back into the lineup, both for different reasons.
yeah.
Third round pick next year. So, and then I mean that's big for retaining next year's as well. Obviously, with Washington, they're probably going to be going into a rebuild pretty soon.
You would think so.
So, were you going to get a third round pick for him next year the way it's been going? No. I think they were just at this point where it was like, all right, we got to move on from him and just take what we can get and do what we got to do to get him out of here. And they did. So, I mean, mission accomplished. The third round pick is not nothing, but for a guy that, has all the talent in the world, probably an unfortunate end. So that's the first trade of the day. So Kuznetsov going to the Carolina Hurricanes. And I think the Canes are done. Washington, probably not.
Probably.
I mean, they've been said that they have like kind of the most to sell. The guy that pops up, the two that I think would be Max Pacioretty, and then a guy that we didn't have our list but is on the TSN one is Nick Dowd, just because of the veteran kind of center presence. So yeah. So first trade is in the books, and we're gonna look forward to the next one. All right, Bobo, we got a flurry of trades. We have 3 to break down. We were waiting for a while for a few of the returns on some of these players, but the big one, which I think we were just talking about, and first of all, before we start, Carolina, we just talked about how they might be done. We didn't realize that. Well, they moved Michael Bunting and his 4.5 million, so they actually gained cap space. So they might not
They'll
be done.
make
Like they could go out and
they'll make a move or two.
they could make some more moves if they really wanted to. But Tyler Toffoli, who I think would have been our number one, available, the guy that was left, got traded to the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, yeah. That's I agree. He would have been our number one if we put him in there a few days ago. But
Well, he
Foley,
currently is now,
yeah,
for sure.
well, no longer since he got traded to the Jets.
Of
Good move
course.
by the Jets there, acquiring him, getting him that top two there, top two lines. Uh, and the return was only what, a second and a third
Yeah. I think a third was it this year and a second next year.
next year. So that's
Not a lot to give up for a guy like Toffoli. Like I was shocked. I think the market for forwards right now is really not that expensive.
no,
And now I always look at it with a Red Wings slant. Like okay, if you can go out and get a guy for like a fourth, like go do it, like get it
Yeah.
done. But yeah, Toffoli is going to be a top 6 guy with Winnipeg, and like the arms race between Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg is fascinating because they're both just loading up, which is what you do. I mean, you're top. They're all in the same division, which is crazy too. But like, it seems like a lot of these guys are like going to the West. But yeah, good pickup. Second to third is totally worth it. New Jersey, they're going to get something for him, but I'm sure they maybe asked for a first, but apparently Winnipeg doesn't have a one. So
So
you
get a
got what
2
you
and a
can
3.
get, right? The next trade that happened, we're still technically waiting for the return. You're going to see it on the top of your screen what it actually is, but currently we don't really know. Pat Maroon got traded from the Minnesota Wild to the Boston Bruins for, they said, a late round draft pick, which makes sense, right?
Yeah. Trying to go for the Patty Maroon gift or whatever, trying to get the cup with him. What, 3 cups in 5 years? So
Yeah, and he was in one of the final. One is in the finals, and they lost with Tampa, right? I
so
mean, they went to 3 straight. He won it with St. Louis the year before that. That he went with Tampa Bay. So, I mean, seems like a Boston move, and it's like you're not giving up a lot. I don't know how much he really has to offer, other than like, hey, I'm a veteran guy,
veteran
playoff
guy,
dude, heavy player. Like,
gritty
so
Boston style.
yeah, there's not really a lot to break down there. And on our list, we didn't really have him going to Boston, but because he
No.
was only making 800K, he really could go anywhere. So it's really hard to predict when there's like zero cap hit,
Yeah.
So makes sense. And the last one is a guy that we didn't have on our radar at all, but Kyle Okposo is going from the Sabres to the Florida Panthers. So Panthers picking up, and it like for really nothing,
For a
you know.
7th round pick that can become a 5th if they win the cup.
Right, and like a prospect that
It'll,
I've
yeah.
never heard of. So Okposo, who has been a captain, older guy, leader, exactly what you would want if you're the Panthers in that locker room. You've already picked up Tarasenko. Now you've got Okposo that you can just throw on like your fourth line. That's a luxury, right? So I'm assuming again, cheap, didn't have to give up a ton for him, and that like just pull the trigger on it because you're not going to get anybody like that for cheaper. So
For cheap,
seventh
yeah.
round pick, you're not really giving up that much. And if you win the cup,
It's
a
a
two
it's a
round
fit,
increase to get to the fifth
whatever.
round is completely worth it, right?
Absolutely.
So those were the three.
A couple
So
other things
Toffoli,
there too
what's
was
that?
Eberle's no longer on the list
You're right.
because he just signed that extension with Seattle there,
He did.
2-year
So
extension.
we didn't put Seattle on our predictions here, right? But so like some of the players that kind of would still be left. I mean, another rumor is that Pavel Buchnevich might stay with the Blues. I guess Doug Armstrong has said, well, if you're not going to pay our price, then you're not going to get him. And I, funnily enough, said, hey, what about De La Rose straight up? Because he's been fleeced so many times as the Blues GM that I'm thinking he's gun shy because he's afraid. It's like, all right. Because I think the fact that like Toffoli that we just talked about, even Gensel, like these guys aren't getting first round picks. I'm sure they want a first for Buchnevich, and other GMs are going, well, no. The
Yeah.
market for forwards is pretty soft right now. I think for the defenseman, it's a little bit higher. But like the next type of defenseman that might go is like Matt Dumba is like the number one guy left, which I don't think he's worth a one either. You could probably get him for a two, but I don't think there's any like studs on defense that you can go out and get right now because Hannafin's already been dealt, and so is Walker. Sealer re-signed. Not to say that those guys are studs or anything. Edmondson's gone, so Eberle's off the list. So we're getting to the point where like the top guys right now are like Buchnevich and Frank Vetrano and Matt Dumba. So we're getting into the point where and guys get moved that are on our list all the time. So there might be
Well,
some
there
surprises.
there is another trade. Ben Myers from Ducks acquired Ben Myers for a mid-round draft pick.
Oh, and also Malcolm Subban got traded from the Blues to the Blue Jackets for future considerations. So those are the few minor trades that there's our hard hitting journalism at it.
Yeah,
So you got the minor league deals in there too. So
going
yeah,
out
there's like
there.
3 trades there. See what happens the rest of the way. So some minor deals I want to get through without this OBS screwing up. Um, Jason Zucker for a 6th round pick. Like that's pretty good deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we've talked about it 3 times already. And and then we've got Chad.
Maroon
Yeah, Pat Maroon, we already know the
to
return, a conditional 6th. And
Boston,
then
and
Chad Ruedel, 4th round pick
to the Rangers for
to
a
the
fourth.
Rangers.
Yeah.
We talked about Klim Kostin going to the Sharks for Simek and a 7th round pick. So it's just a cap like move because he's signed next year for $2 million. I don't know if it means they're going to do something else. And then we got Jake Allen, right,
Yeah,
going
Jake
to
Allen, one of the Devils.
to the Devils for a conditional 3rd, which can become a 2nd if he plays a certain amount of games. Pretty good deal for the Canadians. And I don't know if he's like a stopgap for the Devils because he's signed next year too, but I don't think he's like that guy.
No, he's definitely the guy, but
Better than what they have.
Yeah, that's true.
And then I would say, what was the last one that happened? It was
Yeah,
like Dennis Gurianov. Who
for Wade
cares?
Allison, and then Eric Johnson just got traded to Philly for a 4th round pick.
Yeah, and I mean Eric Johnson. I mean, former 1st round pick. I thought it was
Yeah.
Jack Johnson for a second. I was like, this guy sucks. But hey, I mean, decent veteran guy. I mean, and the Flyers are in a playoff spot right now. So, I mean, shore up your blue line a little bit, I guess. Bringing back Sealer, but, moving on from Walker, right? Was he there? Am I making that up? He was with the Flyers, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So there hasn't been a lot of big trades made. You want to kick my dog real quick?
Yeah.
So rolling on with the trade deadline, we're like an hour away technically from 3:00, but as always, trades will happen kind of after the deadline as well. So we'll see what happens. So we're gonna recap the last trades of the day. There's a bunch that came in. Nothing really there is a major one actually. I just realized, but we're gonna start with Jacob Zaboral, who was part of that weird draft with the Bruins where there's 3 first-round picks in a row, and they kind of missed on most of them. I think one of them was DeBrusk that actually worked out. The other one was Zach Senyshyn. No idea. But he went to Columbus for Andrew Peeke, who is a 7th defenseman for Columbus. But there was something that really perplexed us, right, Bobo?
Yeah, because we thought it was originally just a 1-for-1, right? Which
Makes
we
sense.
thought, okay, no big deal. But Columbus is also getting a 3rd round pick. Granted, it's in 2027, but still. You're still getting an extra asset there.
That's the one I just was like, that's bizarre that you had to give up a 3rd because, again, reference, that's what Tarasenko got. So it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So that was the first one that we really didn't understand. So what's the next one? Bobo's got all the trade tracker stuff up right now, so he's going to take the lead on this one.
Yeah, the next one was Arizona trading Matt Dumba and a 7th round pick to Tampa Bay for a 5th round pick.
Very cheap.
So just Dumba for nothing, pretty much. Cheap rental. And
yeah, and I mean Tampa's in that wild card spot, so they picked up Duclair, and now they got Dumba. I'm not a big fan of Dumba, but I mean if you got him for nothing, it's a pure rental, so you might as well. You're only just giving up 2 rounds in the draft, not even. So go for that one, that's for sure. That's my breakdown of that one.
That's your breakdown? I want to hear your breakdown of this one. Ludwig Weber for Magnus Hellberg.
Next.
The next one was one guy I think you were interested in trying to get in Detroit. There was Jack Roslovic there from the Blue Jackets, and he got switched for a conditional 4th round pick, and the Blue Jackets are retaining 50% of the salary. Great
deal for the Rangers there because I like him. I thought maybe he would be a nice depth piece that the Wings could get, but I mean, good pickup for the Rangers. I mean, and they went for their depth. They got him and they got Wenberg. They didn't go for like some crazy big trade. They didn't get like a big fish, so to speak. But those are 2 guys that will help them down the stretch in their bottom 6. So I really like that trade for the Rangers.
Next, speaking of big fish, this was probably the I would say second biggest or second biggest of the day. Probably the biggest.
I would say this is the biggest one because it was so unexpected. Because it's just, again, it's the Golden Knights, and we've already said what we think about them, what I think about them.
Yeah,
that rule.
And it's Thomas Hertl, a 2025 3rd round pick and a 2027 3rd round pick going to Vegas in exchange for a 2025 1st round pick and prospect David Edstrom,
who was a 1st round pick last year
in 2023. Correct.
So I was shocked because Darren Dreger, I mean, he fucked his tweets up because I thought it was basically the first.
I thought the 3rds were going to San Jose.
Yeah. So San Jose is retaining 17% for 6
Yeah,
years on Hurdle. They've used all 3 of their retention slots. Burns is going to be gone after this one, but they still have Carlson retained for 3 years. So they've got 2 of them for the next 3 at least. And so I mean that's kind of nuts that they had to retain on him. Plus they're they're getting like they had to give up 2/3. So I was kind of shocked at the price. Like I think San Jose, in my opinion, got fleeced, and they kind of screwed themselves because they shouldn't have signed Hurdle to an 8-year extension in the first place if they would have known their
that's
trajectory. Now, Mike Greer did not sign him to that deal. That's the leeway that I will give him,
yeah,
and he's trying to get out of a crappy contract situation, right? Where you're trying to rebuild, and hey, we got a first round pick and a first round prospect. That's going to kickstart their rebuild quicker than, well, we just have Thomas Hurdle, and technically he would be hurting them because he's a good player, right?
yeah, exactly.
So like move him now. If you're the new GM, get rid of him, get your picks, move on. So again, great trade for the Golden Knights. Why the hell do these fucking teams just keep giving them players? It's
Yeah, exactly,
unbelievable.
right? Just they're gonna have like $30 million in cap on
Well, we
dead
went
of LTIR.
yeah,
So
we went through Vegas's like prospect and draft pick pool. Like they don't have first round
they have
picks. Like
nothing.
everybody they've picked, Nick Suzuki traded away. Like like I forget some of the other guys that were in there, but some of these players that they've picked and some of the draft they have, they're not on the team. Like they have one guy and it's Brisson. That's the
Yeah,
only guy that they have, and he's a scratch. So they don't care about the first. They're gonna go out and try to grab a player. They don't give a shit how much it costs. So I mean, that's something that I just again the rich get richer. I hate them. Moving on.
rich get richer, and I hate them.
Yeah,
That's one way to put it. Some smaller trades here. The leave or Colin Miller goes from the Devils to the Jets for a 4th round pick.
fair price.
Connor, yeah, Connor
Mm-hmm.
Dwyer goes from Minnesota for a 4th round pick, as well as Dmitry Ochinikov.
I don't know, to the Leafs, right? I don't
Yeah,
know anything really about them.
Treliving said he said can it have any it's not a bad thing to have depth at center, so is
Okay,
he a depth guy? Sure.
sure. I've never heard of him, honestly.
Yeah. The Flames acquired defenseman Nikita Okotiuk
Yeah,
from
see,
the
we don't care about
Sharks.
that one. That's the one I thought we were waiting for something big like Markstrom or like Rasmus Anderson or something
Yeah,
like
because
that.
who was it had it Frank Savarelli had there for
Frank Sarah
Savarelli.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, saying spaghetti there.
Yeah,
Had an old Calgary has a
we've got
flight
one.
or Calgary has a trade in the hopper.
I'm like, ooh, who
We're just
is it?
waiting.
Some random guy I've never heard of in my life.
A goalie swap here with the Devils and the Sharks. The Devils getting Kapil Kakinen for Vitek Vanacek and a 7th round pick.
Vanacek I thought was going to be kind of the guy for the Devils because he was pretty good in Washington and it just hasn't worked with New Jersey. And like Kakinen hasn't been really good with the Sharks. I mean, nobody really has, but he was
No.
decent when he was with Minnesota. So change of scenery there. I mean, probably good for both of those guys. So, I mean, that's a decent swap, right?
Yeah, and then the last trade that we have here coming in at 4:13 p.m. was the Sabres getting a 7th round pick in exchange for Devin Cooley.
Wow, I'm not going to break that one down, but you know what? All in all, when we look at kind of the list that we had probably I think 6 or 7 that we kind of predicted generally where these guys were going to go.
10 would
And
have been impressive.
I know it would have been very
But
impressive, but like I'd say out of the top 25, probably half of them got traded. Is that
yeah,
fair to say? I don't have my list up right
yeah,
now,
I,
but
I can pull the list up
well,
if
actually, I
you.
can pull it up too. Here it is. Boom, deadline list. So, Hanifin, Gensel, uh, Henrique, Tarasenko, Walker, Allen. Let's see. Duclair. Eberle re-signed with Dumba, Roslovic, Mantha, Edmondson, Pavellier, Maroon. So 13 of them. So half of the guys in our top 25 actually got traded. So that's actually kind of impressive if you think about it. What did you think about the deadline overall, Bobo?
Well, anytime I get to spend time with you, it's worth it. It's worth it, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, right back at you. And
Oh,
as underwhelming as it can be, Like, it is fun to just like take the day and just chill, and it's all about hockey and hanging out and just having
Exactly.
a good time
Exactly. You can never go wrong just hanging out and
and
having
pretending we're
having some
big shots.
coffee, pretending we're big shots.
100%.
It's the one day a year I use my Twitter account,
Yeah,
and then
100%.
but it's always a good day. It's a little, like I said, a little underwhelming, but
I just realized I probably have to iron this fucker thing. Oh my god.
yeah, probably.
What is this, some minor league podcast?
Yeah, it's okay. I gotta make my bed.
Oh man, but yeah, it's something that it just happens every year, and I got a few texts today from the guys like, "Hey man, pretty boring deadline." It's like, yeah, that's how it is. Like,
Well,
there's trades that are
it's
made
the
the day
whole week you got
before.
to take off, right? Now that's
Really,
if we're gonna do this, we might as well take the week off, and that's when everything seems to happen a couple days before.
a couple days before, exactly. So, um, no, I mean it is what it is. I mean, I know the Canucks didn't really do anything, the Wings didn't really do anything. So for us personally, a little bit boring. Although
Yeah,
we have said the Canucks kind of did their moves with
earlier the
Lindholm
year.
and Zadorov, right? So, and really the Wings, picking up Kane, like that's kind of a pickup there where unexpected kind of boost, and even getting their big fish like the Brinket at the beginning of the year. So
Yeah,
I did a video and kind of broke down like what I thought and like how it kind of made sense. And even for the Canucks, like you can kind of say the same thing. Like, well,
they're
they
leading
kind
the
of have
league
their
with.
guys; they're already really good. So
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They have that momentum going. It's do you want to bring in something to? I know it would be bringing in to try to enhance it, but the chemistry that's going on, do you really want to disrupt
well,
that right now? And
that and also that, do you really want to give up your top prospects? Do you want to give up a Jonathan Lekaramaki or a Willander and these guys? Like, not really. You want to keep them, right? Because that's your future, and that's what Patrick Alden said, the Canucks GM, and I agree.
yeah,
So
don't want to give up the future for when you still have a bright one ahead.
you do. So that's the trade deadline. I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast and our insanely very talented and handsome analysis here. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for episode 45 of the Buschy and Bobo show. We'll see what happens going forward. We're going to probably have some pods, towards the end of the year and into the playoffs here, because I'm hoping both our teams will be in it. Yours will be. I'm
Fingers
hoping the
crossed, we got
Wings
both. Fingers
will
crossed, we
be
got
in
both of
there,
them in there.
because that's something I want to get to a game, man. That'd be so fun to get in the playoff atmosphere at LCA. They've
So
never done it. So, yeah. So until then, guys, I mean, I hope everything happened for your team at the deadline. If it didn't happen for us, hopefully it happened for you. But yeah, episode 45 in the books. It's Buschy, and that's Bobo. This is the Healthy Scratch Podcast. We will see you in the next one.
whoa, whoa.
Woo-hoo!